I would like to call upon a distinguished speaker and a dynamic leaders of their field. So first of all, proudly announce and proudly invite Director of LIBF, a prominent Lohana tax advisor. He is Mr. Dinesh Kanabar. Dinesh Kanabar, he is the Axis Tech Practice Leader of the Year 2020 अवॉर्डी है और आज हमारे बीच एक ऐसे लोहाना है, आज हमें उन पे बहुत गौरव है. ऐसे दिनेश कानाबार को हम यहाँ मंच पे आमंत्रित करने जा रहे हैं. He is a stalwart of the industry and has over the decades been recognized by his peers as amongst the top tax advisor in India. His ability to relate business strategies of clients to the tax and regulatory environment has been recognized as unique and has played a critical role in developing solutions of their clients. Mr. Dinesh Kanabar, everybody put your hands together and let's invite him on the stage, our Lohana and Director of LIBF.
A very, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a proud pleasure to stand here looking at a group of hundreds of community leaders, people who have made their mark in various fields of society, and talking to them about a subject which is so important, so critical, as to how does this community evolve and grab the most of the opportunities that exist. And I was just wondering when Satish Bhai asked me to speak on this subject, that there were three things he asked me to focus on. One was the areas of technology, the areas of infrastructure and green energy, which are the fastest growing areas. And then we are looking at the three regions, which probably are the fastest growing regions. Africa, and I was looking at Mayur Bhai and others who have been doing yeoman's work there. And they are actually better placed than anybody else to talk about the opportunities in Africa, the Asia Pacific, and finally the Middle East. We have been hearing about Middle East from all the preceding speakers, and each one of them has been waxing eloquent about what opportunities exist here. But look at this fun fact. By the time I complete this sentence, 50 new people in Africa would have gone into internet. A reality situation. It's not just a startling statement, but a reality of a situation. We are looking at a continent where every single day, 50,000 new people log on to internet. And if that is not an opportunity, what is? The only thing which has changed is that earlier we used to look at Africa and gold beneath the ground. The gold is still very much out there, but it is the digital gold and it is there online and it is for us to encompass. What I would like to do is over the next less than 10 minutes talk to you about a few lessons that I think I would like to leave with each one of you. So let me first begin with technology. You're looking at Africa, one of the youngest continent on earth, with 60% of the population which is under the age of 25 and experiencing a digital revolution of the type that many of us have seen in India. So forget traditional banking. In a place like Nairobi, mobile money transfers via a platform known as M-Pesa are now more common than cash itself. Transactions which are being processed by M-Pesa are almost equivalent to half of the GDP of Kenya. African startups have been attracting a lot of overseas investment, and more than $6 billion of venture capital has gone last year alone into fintech companies. And it's not just fintech. Fintech is just a name, but you have health tech, you have agriculture tech, you have e-commerce. Each one of them emerging as large opportunities for each one of us to look at. Look at Rwanda, for example, which again is emerging as East Africa's tech hub, supporting a support ecosystem for startup, and South Africa's thriving e-commerce, which has global investors buzzing. First takeaway, when looking at Africa, look beyond safaris, think fintech, think agri-tech, and think e-commerce. Let's pivot to Asia Pacific region. India, we all know, is at the hub of technology. It's growing and exploding. If you look at South Asia's digital economy, it has skyrocketed from $50 billion in 2015 to more than $200 billion today. If you are looking at a place like India, the number of digital transactions which India did last year was equivalent of the whole world put together. Now that's saying something. We are all aware of UPI, we are all aware of RuPay, how each one of these technologies has really taken the world by a storm, and how now each country is looking at India to help develop that technology indigenously. But just imagine that one country is doing digital transactions equivalent to the whole world put together. And we are all aware of this issue that you can today walk into the streets of Bombay or Bangalore and pay a chaiwala on the street, a hawker on the street digitally, maybe far easier and fast better than you can do that transaction in a barista of Starbucks in New York. Amazing. And then we have Hasmukh Bhai who's going to speak to us later on about Gift City. Thinking beyond to go back and say that you are investing in India, and until now you looked at Mauritius, you looked at Cyprus to make investments. Why do we need that? Why can't we think of a financial hub in India, which is both inbound and outbound, and creating a gift city, something which is really, really amazing, a city for the future. And I'm sure when we hear Hasmukh Bhai, we'll be delighted about it. You know, we talk about India, but again, technology in the entire Asia is something to think about. Indonesia, as they jocularly say, has more unicorns today, startups valued at more than $1 billion, than the actual unicorn sightings in Scotland. We have just ensured that and that is the lesson number 2, massive scalability is achievable when a digital readiness meets youthful ambition. That's something which we need to think about. Everything that was looked at impossible yesterday, everything that was looked upon in a small scale yesterday, today is easily achievable because A, we have the ambition, and B, there is technology. And there is no more ambition anywhere in the world than under this roof where Lohanas are thriving. And speaking of ambition, let's talk about infrastructure. We talk about Middle East, and you heard everybody, and I don't need to repeat what they said. But if you just look at our gracious host, they are talking about investing $2 trillion in infrastructure by 2030. That's like almost creating 4,000 times a Burj Khalifa all over the place. Africa and its Neom city are legendary. Sure, there are times when things get scaled back. Sure, there are implementation issues. But that's an opportunity of a lifetime. And each one of us need to look at Saudi Arabia. We have a session on it later on. But it's an amazing place where lots is happening and we need to look at it. And look at South Africa, forget beyond infrastructure. Who would have ever thought 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that South Africa as a nation is going to host clubs which are going to play football, other sports, is going to host film festivals, is going to hold music festivals, something which we need to be alive to. And we need to just start thinking that when we are looking at investing in infrastructure, think beyond just the concrete. Think of reshaping entire societies and opening societies which were previously untapped. And finally, let's look at solar energy. We speak about renewable energy, and one thing which stands out, India, of course, is a great example about how we don't now talk of putting up projects of 2 gigawatts, 3 gigawatts. We speak about 30 gigawatts at a single location. And digressing just for a moment, you know, I sit on the board of a company known as Adani Green Energy, and Adani Green Energy is implementing a 30 gigawatt project, solar project, in Khawda, in Kutch. And I had an occasion to visit that project, and I can tell you it's desert. Miles and miles of desert. When you go around, there is no habitation. Forgetting human habitation, there is no habitation at all. All that you see on the way is salt pans. And right in the middle of that salt pan, almost touching the border with 5 kilometers away from Pakistan, you see a 30 gigawatt project of solar energy. And you come back and feel proud as an Indian. But beyond that, look at Morocco. In Morocco, we have the Noor Ozaret solar complex, which is of the size, half the size of Paris. And what we thought earlier, that the sun rays were for tanning, is here is something which is lighting up billions of houses. That's what we are talking about. In Asia Pacific, the investment in solar is estimated to be about $200 billion. Right in Dubai, we are looking at renewables and a growth of over 300% in the next 5 years. Next lesson, renewable energy is not just ethical, it is big money and it is highly, highly profitable. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me just share a minute of my own journey. And there's a reason I may say this. I started out as a tax firm in India, and about 7 years ago came to the UAE because this country introduced VAT and introduced now corporate tax. And today, I can proudly say we are among the largest, if not the largest tax practice in this country. But that is not what I'm talking about. The point I just wanted to make to you is that the early bird catches the worm. We came here, and when we came here, people laughed to say, here is a country which is a tax haven. Are you sure you want to have a tax practice here? It is simply that we saw an opportunity, leapt into it, and moved ahead with it. And that's the point I would like to leave with you. As they say, the early bird catches the worm, and the second mouse catches the cheese. That's for all of us. We saw yesterday when Shubhas Bhai showed us the video about how the Lohana community has always been at the forefront of innovation, have been always never shy of moving countries, moving continents, and making most of the situation. All that I would urge is, here are opportunities waiting for us. It's for us to dive into those opportunities and make the most of it. Thank you all so much.